they call me more Nicolas. It's up
Yes,
to you.
hello
Even
everyone,
if you
we're
want
live.
to. Yeah.
Yes, we're live right now. Hello
Okay.
everyone. Thank you for joining on Friday afternoon and Friday evening right there. Yes. Today I'm Irene. I'm Irene with SaugaTalks. I'm still Irene today. That the way I was yesterday and day before. So yes, I'm Irene with SaugaTalks and my co-host Brian Thomas from Coruzant Technologies today here with us as well. Hello Brian, how are you doing?
Great. It's awesome to be here again. Fridays, are starting to kind of be my favorite day. Everybody that knows me or has worked with me is Monday is my favorite day, but Fridays, I'm starting to get to like those because we get to be on an amazing show every Friday and of course talk to some great guests. So I'm glad to be here, Irene. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm loving our time here. You know why? Because fantastic people are joining us every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Calculate where you are in the world. So we love having you with us. And today with us, Nicolas Babin. Hello, Nicolas. How are you? How are you
Hi,
today?
Irene. I'm great. Hi, Brian. Great to be with you
Hello.
guys. Really pleased.
Absolutely. We won't leverage every second of this airtime, Nicola, with you because we announced the topic. It's going to be gamification, the power of gamification. To me, it is power of technology to engage better with your clients, with your customers, with your employees, your partners, the
Yeah.
entire world, right? So can you please enlighten us? How do we think about gamification? Because word is not new. The word
Nope.
is, I don't know how many years old. Yeah, where do we stand now?
Well, to be honest with you, I started gamification before even the term was invented by Gabe Zickerman, a Canadian guy, very nice guy. And I started to use it in 2004 when I was head of marketing and communication for Sony. And my thinking was, at Sony we have PlayStation, and obviously at the time we had PS3, I believe, and I could see people being behind their consoles and being like so intense and engaged and passionate about what they were doing. Like some of the time, they will be looking at their watch and say, "Oh, it's been 2 hours that I've been playing, and I haven't seen time fly back." And I was thinking, how could we use the game mechanics that we have in place within those games and the console games to ensure that people, when they go into a shop, they choose a Sony TV rather than a Samsung or Philips or LG. And so I was trying to think, is there a link between the mindset that players get when they are in front of game and also a potential buyer of a TV, of a Walkman, because at the time, obviously, Walkman was big, of a camera or things like that. So that's what started me to think about gaming and marketing ploy. And then Gabe Zickerman again came up with the idea of gamification. And so at the time, then we were talking more and more about platforms, right? So people would, brands would invest into gamification platforms. They would be game mechanics that they would use, like appointment dynamics, like any things around community collaboration, all these things. And then that hasn't taken off too well, to be honest with you, because people were debating whether or not gaming was actually working. So to me, gamification is much more than a game platform. It's really a mindset. It's a marketing set that creates engagement and loyalty. And that's why you need to use gamification. So again, it's, as you said, it's been used and overused for many, many years, like, the term artificial intelligence, basically, where we use it for everything right now, because investors, when they invest in a company, they want to hear the fact that you have an AI-based solution, right? Well, gamification is a little bit like that. But if you think a little bit outside of the box and you think about exactly what I meant about, those players just being immersed and engaged with a game in an environment, when you are in the state like this, you can push messages, you can get attention. So even for things that are not fun, for example, filling out a survey, it's not fun, right? But you do it because there's a carrot at the end, or so and so has done it, so maybe you should be doing it, right? And there's also, you're going to help a brand, or you're going to so that's why I think using game mechanics to do things that are not fun is something that I see as a real value.
You're absolutely right, Nicolas. Thank you for sharing your experience. And so I was going to say, you're the guy to blame for us filling out crazy surveys for that little carrot, huh? But you're absolutely right. So, you know, I've been a gamer for years. My son was a pro gamer, by the way. He traveled the world, but it is gamification. They suck you in. If you look at any app today, especially a gaming app, they've got you. They say it's free to play, but they've got you, and you're going to continue to play that game. But, you know, we found that you're loyal for many, many years, and it's just one of those things. So I think that's, if we can integrate that better into the business side of things, like you said, we're not quite there yet, but I think it's going to be a way to really solidify your brand and keep loyal customers for life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one term you just used is absolutely correct. You need to integrate gamification with other activities. Mm-hmm. So with gamification, you're going to create a lot of data, right? You're going to personalize campaigns. You're going to make sure at least the data you collect will be used for your benefit and not against you, you know? And that's why, you know, I mentioned AI before, but it's true that if, as you have the data as a common denominator, you could think about using any type of algorithms around it. And AI will be able to look for data that has been, you know, that, for example, for a brand, like I still buy a lot of Sony stuff, and I don't want to make any, I don't work for Sony anymore. But, you know, once 15 years with the company, I guess I'm very engaged still with the company. And so Sony could basically look at the last 30 years of my life and say, you know, Nicolas, he lives in France. He normally orders his TV around July time. It's every 2 years. So you're getting all this data, and you can do some prediction, but using gamification, you're going to get engagement from me. So if Sony makes a campaign or tries to get me to buy a new product coming out, they are going to do it on the right platform, at the right time, and with the right format and the right message, because they know my buying patterns. And with an AI-based model, an AI-based algorithm using gamification, then they'll make sure that the return rate is very high, you know, because they know me. And this is where I think, you know, integrating gamification with any other, I was just giving the example of AI, but it could be with anything else, you know. And this is where it's going to be really powerful, because what you need to do is really get a consumer close to a brand. And that's it. Once you create that link between the two, this is what marketing directors or marketing managers want to have, because then, you know, it's beyond rational. It's, why do I love Sony? Because it's true that, you know, in the past, they used to have those Vios that were really good. The first Walkman, I'm much older than the two of you combined, probably. Yeah, the Walkman, you know, the first time I remember back in the 80s, I was in a bus in Bordeaux. And, you know, I was listening to my music, and everybody on the bus was looking at me like, what is he doing? You know, it was like, I launched the first GPS system back in 1996. And I remember I was in London at the time, and my neighbors used to queue on the weekend and ask for a tour in the talking car, right? It was, the engagement was just there, because suddenly you had a car. You have to remember 1996, there was nothing like this. And the car suddenly would say, please turn right, take the roundabout, and leave at the second exit. People were just blown away. Same thing happened when we launched with Sony, Aibo, the artificially intelligent robot that could talk, that could engage with people. And still, I mean, Aibo still exists, but, you know, you would come out with an Aibo and people will be so engaged with the brand. And that's exactly what we're trying to reconnect by integrating gamification with other areas of the business.
Absolutely, Nicolas. So what I'm seeing, and it's not me, it's all the consumers around the world, right? That without even saying gamification, we already engaged in those games. Like you mentioned, any app we're using, you know, YouTube is trying to keep their the watchers watch. And there are different tactics, right? We just don't call it gamification every time. It's a long word. right? So
Right.
see how little by little, right, we're already engaged by the technologies.
But it's not new. You know, for how long have you had an airline loyalty card? You know, like this United Airlines, Air France, Platinum, Gold, all these cards. This is based on gamification. Because what do you have when you have a Gold card or a Platinum card? You go
give
to
you
the
points.
special.
Yeah.
You get points, true, and sometimes you get points even faster. But what do you get also? You get special access to a lounge, to a VIP area where you have this red carpet, right? You can show off a little bit when you're in the queue, and the queue is really long, and you have your gold card. It's, you know, so I talked at the beginning about Gabe Zickerman, and there's also another guy called Toby Beresford who wrote a fantastic book called Infinite Gamification, which I highly recommend. And he explains about the status, access, power, and stuff, or price, so SAPP. And that's the basis of gamification. So first, it's status. This is something that's really sticky in terms of marketing, right? So what's sticky is like what stays with you. And on top of it, it's free. So for an airline to have a loyalty program like this, it's probably not free because there's a lot of logistics behind it, but it's not that expensive. So they give you a status of, and we see what's going on now with COVID in the last year. We haven't flown much. You know, I'm still gold on Air France because Air France see that as soon as we're going to go back into business, I'll be able to travel again. So status is the first point. Then you have access. Again, what I mentioned, you have access to a special lounge, access to a special line where you have no queue in order to check in, right? Then you have power. So like in a game, you have a special power. So you have a special sword, or you have a special status that will give you access to sales that are happening before everybody else. And the last one is what we call price or stuff, is when you win a TV, or and it's something that costs. So it's in order of like less costly to the most costly, because you make somebody win a TV or a car, they'll be really happy. They'll talk about it, but 6 months down the line, they'll forget who has given them the TV or the car. Whereas if you're gold, or platinum from an airline, you'll have that connection. And this is what's really important in that in the gamification. When you think about this, the mindset, you really need to think about this SAPP, and you really need to think about the type of people you want to engage with your brand.
You're absolutely right. And Nicolas, what I think is interesting is we live in the social world today where if somebody is not, I see it every day on LinkedIn. Someone says, gosh, I had the worst experience with United Airlines. Sorry, Irene, I don't know, but some airline name, okay? Yeah. And they blast it on Twitter or LinkedIn, and they end up getting a response out of it. But I think the gamification is a way for, if you make it engaging, where you make it where you really feel like you're loyal to that brand, I think you're less likely to get out there and give a bad Google review or send a bad tweet. So I think that's important to share.
Yeah, absolutely right. And also what has been different since, back in 2000, 2004, when I started to discover this power of marketing, is the fact that social media now is so important. Today, you cannot, win something or have a special status. Irene and I just shared the fact that Thinkers 360 have promoted us as top, forgotten in what area actually. They just said that you and I were one of the top 20 worldwide.
It was RPA, robotic process automation. Yeah.
Robots, and exactly. So in RPA, and what do you do? First thing you do, you share it. You share it on Twitter, you share it on LinkedIn, you share it on Facebook, you share it on Instagram. If you're a bit younger, you share it on others. Right? But today there will be no point in winning a TV or winning a car or getting a new status. And if you can't communicate about it, then you forget. Right? Forget it. It means there's no point. So what I'm saying here is that gamification needs to be linked to a campaign or another mindset, which is the social media. And again, it's not, I use a lot social media. I'm very present around mainly LinkedIn and Twitter, but I use it to share information, and I use it for people to think, well, maybe what he's saying is interesting, so I'm going to respond. But I really do not like people getting onto social media to bring down a brand or anything. That to me it's of course you can have a bad experience and you can share that, but always in the most factual way you can. And we've seen extremes happen, and that's why I'm just saying, like in gamification, you have risks by using social media. And that's why it's really important for people to understand that when you're in a campaign, when you try to get this connection between a brand and the consumer, you need to think also about the potential risks and potential bad news, I would say.
Nicolas, what you helped me today already, okay? I do hope those who listen to us, they'll get their own insights from this conversation, because you helped me simply to connect few things. Entering the conversation, I thought we're going to talk about heavy platforms, investments, this high technology that's still expensive for businesses to get a possession of. But what I've learned from you that, hey, we just reminded gamification, we're part of those games every day, every time probably we're touching our computer or phone, and that is mind-blowing to me, because those tactics exactly marketing teams has been using, but to me it was not that prevalent. So thank you for the insight. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the basis of all this is the fact that gaming has come before even culture. So like baby dinosaurs, they learn from their mothers by playing, right? They learn how to hunt by playing and everything. So gaming is part of our DNA. Everybody in the world is playing. When you have people say, I never play, check with them. They probably have a crossword, so the game mechanics are different for everyone. For example, I'm a huge PlayStation fan. I have my PlayStation 5 now for almost a year. I had the PSP, I've had them all, right? What I like the most about it is soccer games. I'm not like, my kids, for example, what they like the most is like games where they hunt, where they all these, where they race or they kill each other and stuff like that. I'm not into that. I love soccer, I love rugby, and I love car racing. So those three types. So game mechanics that work for me don't work for you, Brian, or will not work for you, Irene, because we're different. And that's the beauty of it, right? And in marketing, you need to make sure, especially today, because again, of social media and everything that we see in the world, you need to have personalized approach to everything you do, because it won't work, right? Mass marketing, as we knew it back in the 80s or 90s, does not work today. It's the marketing will work for Irene when it's an Irene campaign, when it's a Brian campaign, when it's a Nicolas campaign, right? And that's what gamification can bring with other technologies next to it. And that's why I don't believe too much in those platforms. There are some great platforms that I've seen, especially in the US and California. There are two great companies that make those platforms, and sometimes it works, and it probably worked, before before 2010 to 2012, where social media was there, but not that much. Was now, if you have a campaign that really talks to you, as Brian said, you'll talk about it. You're going to go and say, such and such airline that did a poor job, but also you can say, and I do all the time when I'm very pleased with a company, without them telling me, I go on the social media and I tell them, I say, wow, what a fantastic experience I've had with them. And that's what creates loyalty. And that's what creates actually strong loyalty. It's not loyalty that's going to be bought. It's loyalty that you're going to have inner you. And that's really what you want to have as a marketing person.
Absolutely. Rebecca Keeney is commenting on our talk. Rebecca, thank you for watching. We absolutely appreciate you taking time. So loyalty usually translates to this regardless of what critics say and what loyalty is just a cause. So with that, we applaud Rebecca to your point of view. Brian, you're about to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just, I think Rebecca makes a great point there on loyalty, and just to kind of follow up to Nikolai's statement there. I had an interesting experience. Is I had somebody on a podcast, I won't mention names, but a big brand, big name, and never visited his website, his company, nothing like that. And all of a sudden on my tablet, which is not for work, it's out in my bedroom, I use it for other things, reading and so forth, all of a sudden I'm getting ads about his company. It's interesting. You talked about that target marketing. The mass marketing doesn't work anymore. You're absolutely right. But that's interesting how they've tapped and taken it to the next level. And they know everything about us. They can absolutely target us and gamify it.
Yep, absolutely. As long as they gamify it and they make it engaging for you, you're more likely to respond to it. Obviously, sending you an email every 2 hours telling you that they have the best products, honestly, it doesn't work with me. And I know it doesn't work with many people. But if it's subtle, if it's interesting, if it's engaging, and if it talks, around my interests, believe me, I'm the first one who's going to buy something from a company that really understands how it works.
Yeah, Nicolas, the customers you're working with, okay? I'm wondering if you have any shiny examples, because Sony, big brands, using it, especially if you're consumer facing, right? That's kind of comes naturally in some ways, but there are very talented, marketeers, business to business. Do you have any examples where we can say this brand, this company, without even naming the brand if you don't want to, but they actually nailed it? I mean, anything to share? Mm-hmm.
And there's one example, and again, it's Sony, but because I was very close to that brand for many years, but we use gamification for advertising. So it was not aired in the US, so I don't think many of the people coming from the US will have seen it, but we did 3 types of campaigns. The first one, we called it the Balls in San Francisco. So we went into the steepest street of San Francisco. I forgot the name now, but anyway. And I used to live in San Francisco, so that was one of the reasons we chose that. And we threw out 250,000 balls of multicolored balls down that street, and we did not talk about the TV during the whole commercial. We had a fantastic music with somebody playing the guitar, and at the end we just said colors like no other. That's all, and we showed the TV for like 5 seconds, and that was the first time where people started to think, "Wow, it's another way of doing these ads." And the second one, we called it Paint, and there was a development, social development that was going to be destroyed in Glasgow, in Scotland, and we used, so it was all empty, and we used that area where we did some fireworks with paints. So we had paints from plenty of colors coming out of the staircases, coming out of the windows and everything. And for like a minute and a half, you had Vivaldi music with those colors. And at the end, we said colors like no other again. And it was, again, the 5-second TV show. And the last one, so we did 3 campaigns over the course of 4 years, I believe. And the last one was rabbits in New York. So we had rabbits that were made of clay. So using CGI, computer-generated animation, we made the rabbits grow from nothing to big in the streets of New York, and people were just looking at it. So we gamified advertising. And that's what I try to do. I work with a lot of brands, and it's chemical brands. There are big brands on phones and things like that. When you can go on my LinkedIn and you see who I work for. And I always try, even when we try to digitize a factory, I always try to put a gamification angle to everything. For example, when you use augmented reality, virtual reality, or mixed reality, you're getting more engagement from people. So like, let's imagine you have a factory where everything is manual and you want people to actually start using digital tools. What you're going to do is you're going to train these people using VR, AR, XR. So for example, like if you turn that valve left, then the factory will blow up, right? So it obviously, when you're in real life, you can't train these people doing these things, but you can use gamification so they are more engaged, they learn faster, and they get more involved with their training. Because when you have people who are just behind their desk all day long, very mundane work, just pushing a button because there's suddenly an alarm setting off, it's hard to get them engaged and to train them for a new tool. And I've done that with some factories where I've used AR and VR to make sure that at least they would get the experience without hurting themselves or without hurting the factory and hurting everybody else around. So there are many examples that I could give. I mean, I think we could stay here all night and I could explain, but it's always trying to think again outside of the box to make sure that at least you can talk to everyone, talk their language, and at least you get the engagement. To me, gamification, it's all about engagement. It's all about loyalty. And whether you use it for human resources, you use it for marketing, you use it for production, you use it for management as well, because obviously when you're a manager, a leader of a company, you need to engage the people working with you. And so you could use gamification for this. It works with many areas, but again, it works as a mindset. And that's really the most important message that I wanted to come to give tonight. Well, today, sorry. It's tonight in Europe.
Yeah, and thanks for jumping on at such a late hour there, Nicolas. We certainly appreciate it. No, you're absolutely right. Taking this to the next level, I think we've learned this. We've known this for years. Is when you're having fun learning, you excel at it. When people are in a mundane factory type job, it's not happening. And you're absolutely right. Seen some great technology over the past year around AR, VR, XR, MR. It's amazing the stuff that they're coming out with. They're coming out with stuff that will blow your mind, and you don't even need the goggles, right? So that's what's really cool about some of the emerging technology that's coming out today.
And you can see also that we all use LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is fantastic at using both gamification and artificial intelligence at the same time. LinkedIn makes sure you fill out your profile. You have that progress bar, which is gamification, because you're like 60%, damn it, everybody else is at 90% or 100%. So I want to be at 30%, right? That's part of our DNA. So you want to do that. But also they're using AI to make sure that at least your life is easier. I love LinkedIn. I mean, I've been using LinkedIn since 2003. I was one of the first 10,000 people in the world to use it. So you can look on my profile. You'll see December 2003, because I immediately loved the things. But at the beginning, it was hard, especially when it was my birthday. I remember people wishing me happy birthday. I was very happy about that. But then I wanted to reply to everyone. Today, I have to say, it's much easier because LinkedIn has known me for so long that they know how I behave, how I answer. And so they suggest, and they suggest for you as well, suggest for everyone, a specific answer. And that's what's really good. And you'll see, I'll bet you anything that LinkedIn is going to make some progress, even in the way that's going to be more personalized in terms of the answers you give it. So it's, today, everybody's using gamification in a way of, maybe it's all different, but they're all using it, and everybody's using AI. So when I hear people saying, "Oh, AI is a revolution," to me, it's not a revolution; it's an evolution, and it's been painless. It's been painless. We've been using AI for a long time, but we just don't know it, right? And that's the beauty of it.
Exactly, Nicolas. Thank you so very much for your time. Yes, joining from Europe on Friday night. We appreciate it so much. So
I'm enjoying. It's gamified. It's fun.
It's fun. That is our gamification element, right? We are engaging with guests, with each other, and with our audience. So, Nicolas, a few takeaways, okay? I love to summarize, something you want our audience to live with, and just kind of plant a simple thought, maybe, Yeah,
just again, as I said over and over, gamification is all about engagement, personalization, loyalty. And the main giveaway that I would have today is don't be scared of gamified or gamification campaigns, or a combination of, or integration, as Brian mentioned, because I really like that term, of gamification and other technologies, because it's actually for the best. Remember 5 years ago, even we would get like hundreds of mails and messages that were really irrelevant for us. Today, thanks to this mindset and then this approach to business, finally we're getting what's interesting to us, and that's the main giveaway I would like to give tonight.
Absolutely. Wow. That's something to think about, right, Brian? You were saying something.
No, I was just, thank you. We appreciate the insights, and as always, having a guest on the show and being able to share this information and knowledge out there is just amazing. So thank you again, Nicolas.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Irene. It was a pleasure.
You. A wonderful
Anytime
weekend
you invite me, I'll be happy to.
Loving having you here on the show. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.